not one of those guys that ever asked to leave. He never wanted to bail. He stuck it out, and he got rewarded for it. And when you look at today's game and world, everyone's bailing. And Paul was one of the guys who never thought of it, never wanted to do it. And the fact that he was rewarded with a title, I think of all our guys, Kevin, Ray, Rondo, all of them, baby, Paul's the one to me. Like, he's the one. He's the one that we should, really zero in our credit to and give him the most praise, because I think he's the guy that had to stand power and was able to do it.
It's always special to step in the guard. This is both of my career. I spent 15 years here, lots of good memories, won a championship here. Special fans, special building.
So part 2 of the show will start off as the Paul Pierce tribute session. I feel like we've done this a few times before because we never know when.
How long is this video going to be? 4 hours? Because if we're doing a tribute, it's going to have to be.
Okay, we're going to condense it down to 3 minutes here. It was special to see Paul out there one last time, especially with Doc.
One last time?
In the Garden.
Whoa. I'm not ready to,
okay,
I'm
so
not ready
for
to
one,
accept that yet.
Assuming that the NBA Finals matchup is not the Celtics for the
I'm not ready to accept the fact that this is last year. I'm not ready to accept it.
So he said before the game.
He said exactly that.
This could be our last time, but I'm not 100% sure.
Dude, he's been saying that for 3 years now.
And I asked him again. I said, I hope I'll see you again next year. And he said, yeah, we'll see. So he's pretty clearly committed to not being committed.
I mean, he's
totally
he's
legitimate.
playing in his backyard. I think he can go another year. He's getting enough money to, this is just extra spending money.
And he's still serviceable enough to hang on. But
yeah, serviceable is a good word.
What do you?
He adds a lot off the court.
Yeah, so that's the main thing. So with Paul Pierce, you see him transitioning into maybe at least one more year where he's kind of a player coach, like Doc basically described him before the game, saying that that Paul is basically Doc's mouth out on the court.
Paul, where were you when Blake Griffin was taking swings at employees on the team?
You weren't in the restaurant in Toronto.
You weren't out to eat with them that night? No, I'm just kidding. Not really though. But no, listen, Paul Pierce, Doc Rivers knows what he's getting when he has Paul Pierce. He can be truthful with Paul. Paul's truthful back. No pun intended. Actually, that was not intended at all.
I intended you to make that pun.
But Paul's been able to transition into this backup role because it's been happening over the past few seasons. When he went to Brooklyn, he was supposed to take more of a backseat to like Joe Johnson, Darren Williams. That didn't work out. We all know that. In D.C., they've got John Wall, they got Bradley Beal. So he's been taking a backseat slowly but surely. Now it's like a full-on backseat. Obviously, he has to play a little bit more now with Griffin out. But what he brings them off the court now far exceeds what he brings them on the court. I mean, I know he was in the game late, and he was in the game in crunch time, and Doc's going to put him in the crunch time situations. But I don't think he's the guy they want taking the shots at the end of games. But it's always good to see Paul here.
They ran a deception play to kind of stunt towards him, like they were going to give him that shot,
right?
Which was a fake to get a switch.
He did miss a three.
CP3 got the switch on Evan Turner, but he ended up missing that shot at the end of regulation. And he did get that shot, and that's what they want him in there for, is for in the playoffs to do what he did for Washington last year. He had that fadeaway
and
three
Brooklyn,
in the corner. Yeah, I mean he's been doing it forever.
He can still do it. You still have to honor his shot.
Yeah, you do. You have to charge out on him. He can step around it. He's still valuable.
But did you think that tonight he seemed any different in the sense that maybe it was his last time?
I mean, he didn't have it on the court like I was kind of expecting it. He seemed kind of a step slow tonight, more than he has throughout the season.
When they lost, he left the court like high-fiving like all the fans that were still there.
Yeah.
Obviously everyone was still there, but all the fans that were trying to get high-five, he was showing them love. I don't know if that means anything. I don't know if he's just taking it all in because he still doesn't. He's probably just because he still doesn't know.
I mean, the fact that he didn't stay there and soak it in the way like Kobe Bryant has been doing.
This isn't a Paul Pierce retirement tour.
Yeah, it definitely does not have that feel.
Nor was KG's. So he didn't even play.
Let's pivot into the Celtics and what's ahead for us now. So the Celtics are one of the, probably along with San Antonio and Golden State, and Toronto, the hottest teams in the NBA. I mean, they're playing at an elite level right now.
Yep.
They lost the Milwaukee game, but that was because of Avery Bradley making a silly foul after Jared Bayless made a silly foul. So I mean, that game kind of canceled itself out. They have won.
Bad quarter.
Yeah, they continue to win against different types of opponents, playing different strategies. Tonight they had a pretty crazy game where they had lots of guys foul out, Olynyk getting fouled, and they were able to adapt. This team's depth has finally been figured out by Stevens, contorted by Stevens, to not be an unnecessary burden, but rather a pretty well refined strategic advantage. So they have a ton of draft picks to move, but they have a lot of players they can move. If you're making a move, what is it, and what are you using?
I don't think I'm touching like 1 through 11 here. I really don't. I really don't.
11 even.
11,
Yeah.
or because here's the thing. Every guy, Brad Stevens utilizes, like everybody in his rotation is so important. You know what I mean? There aren't these guys that you can really, they're expendable. I mean, think of a guy like Evan Turner. I mean, obviously he's not a guy that they would consider trading, but 6 man is important. Sullinger, Olynyk, these guys coming off the bench, even Jerebko is playing better now. If you take like one piece, sometimes that doesn't jive with the rest of the guys, especially if they're playing their best basketball right now. And I don't think Danny Ainge is trying to really mess with a good thing. I also what we do know about Danny Ainge is he's not going to just make a trade for the sake of making a trade. He wants to win the trade. Last year was a no-brainer at the deadline to get Isaiah Thomas for a late first-round pick and Marcus Thornton, who was just kind of there. He was just kind of there.
They don't miss him now anymore.
They don't miss him at all. They don't need a shot chucker guard. I mean, Marcus Thornton's a serviceable guy, but they didn't need him. I don't know if that situation is going to present itself this time around. And if it does, maybe. But who's the Marcus Thornton of this team?
Evan Turner technically right now, but he's a lot more
Evan
valuable.
Turner's
than
way. Yeah, Evan Turner's not going anywhere.
Well,
I can tell you that.
Let's not forget that Thornton was actually playing fairly well in his role, but they don't.
But the Celtics were also in a different place.
Sure, they were.
Which is the difference, I think, this time around, which is why I don't think they do anything major. Now, if David Lee wants out, maybe they figure out a way to get him out.
If he wants out?
Maybe they buy him out, whatever it may be. That's end of the or out of the rotation type move. I don't see anything major happening. It would have to be like, but then again, the NBA is nuts. The NBA trade deadline is crazy. I don't see a superstar that's going to be available at the deadline that was going to make the Celtics run the risk of ruining the good thing that they have. Now, the offseason, completely different story, but going into the trade deadline, I think they stand pat 90% of their team.
Okay, so here's I think the most, I'd say,
What do you
feasible scenario. So Al Horford is the guy that I've been targeting for the entire season for this team. And it sounds like Danny Ainge is agreeing with that because apparently they've been kicking the tires on a deal surrounding Horford. So if they want to get Horford,
You got to give up a lot, though.
they got to give up Lee. You're going to have to give up either or both Sullinger and Zeller. Zeller doesn't seem like it's much of an issue because it doesn't
You
seem
haven't
to be
given
a ton
up
of interest in
anybody
that.
of value yet.
Yeah, well, Sullinger is a guy.
He's
of
a
value.
free
We saw it
agent, though.
tonight. Yeah, well, he's someone that they might want to re-sign. And then you're going to have to give up a lot of draft picks. So you're going to have to give up probably this year's first-round pick for the Celtics and the Dallas pick. So they still have that Brooklyn pick, though, because obviously they're not going to move the Brooklyn pick for a 30-year-old really good player who's a free agent to be. And then you're probably going to – there's a chance that Atlanta's going to want that Memphis pick that even though it's years down the road, it could be actually coming to fruition with the team on
in
the
like,
downward slope of
5
their
years?
progression. Yeah, so that's a pick you really want to hold on to if you can, but it doesn't kill you if you get rid of it. So getting Al Horford,
So you're kind of sliding in Horford in place of Sullinger.
basically
Upgrading there.
And and Horford isn't the 3-point shooter that Sullinger is when he's really on, and we saw tonight Sullinger hit that crucial 3. But Horford does all the things Sullinger does better than Sullinger does, and he's a much better defender. And Sullinger is a good defender in a lot of ways, but Horford is one of the best players at that position.
Ainge makes that move with the hope that he's going to re-sign Horford.
With the question of, do you re-sign him? I mean, the guy's
You
gonna
won't make
want-
that move
the
unless
guy's going to want $25 million next year.
But you don't make that move unless you're trying.
committed to pay him the cap.
Right.
You know, they have Thomas locked in, they have Bradley locked in, they have Crowder locked in, they have Smart on
Cap's
his rookie
going
deal.
up.
The cap's going up. I mean, you're gonna have to throw the money at somebody.
Right.
It makes sense to do it at Horford.
If you're interested in Horford, if you know you're going to be interested in Horford in the offseason and you see an opportunity to trade for him and kind of show him Boston, and you know Al Horford is a good friend of David Ortiz's. So there's an in right there, 2 Dominican guys.
Yeah.
I think David
Should
Ortiz.
get Big Poppy on the phone. during the trade
I'm
call.
sure David Ortiz would be on the phone if somebody in the Celtics put a little word in and said, "Hey, convince this guy to enjoy it here or something. Stick around for a bit." That's a good option. You're not giving away any cornerstone players. Not that they really have any, but you're not giving away any top of the top guys in this team right now. It's something that Danny Ainge would probably really think about. And you're definitely not going to get rid of any of those Brooklyn picks for somebody like Horford. Keep those for a mega star, or you just if there's a guy you like in the draft.
And frankly, if Horford was 26, it wouldn't make sense, but he's going to be 30. You're only in your advantage of keeping him.
But
Is
what
to
if
give
the
him
Hawks?
that extra
What if
contract.
the Hawks to say you need to take Korver, you need to take Teague too? They want to they want to package these guys.
You can take him, but none of those guys are worth giving up that Brooklyn pick for.
No.
They're not needle movers. I hate that phrase, but they're not.
No.
And also Teague, after we saw what we saw out of Isaiah Thomas tonight and what Marcus Smart has been doing.
They don't need a point
Not
guard.
really an interest, or Avery Bradley as well. No interest in Teague.
Right.
Korver, obviously, the more shooters, the better. All right, that's going to do it for us here. We're going to be gone for 2 weeks.
Will they make that trade?
The Horford
Next
trade?
show we do, is Ralph Horford going to be on this team?
I think so.
Whoa!
I really think it's going to happen.
I don't think so.
I mean,
I actually don't
from the
think so.
Celtics' perspective, they absolutely can make that deal happen. It's really just a matter of, are the rumors
How
that
much
Atlanta
do
really
they
wants to
want
move
to?
things, shake things up? And it's really just, does Atlanta think they can keep Al Horford, or does Al Horford have some injury concerns we don't know about? I think.
Or do
I
the
think
Celtics
Atlanta's
think they
gonna
can
do it.
sign Al Horford without trading for him?
I think so. They probably could. Yeah,
Maybe
but they have a lot of assets they can cash in on now that can put them at the advantage of re-signing him after he was already on the roster, which gives them some negotiation advantage. So I think they would do it.
Okay, we'll find out.
We'll find out. So we'll be back in 2 weeks. Jimmy hopefully will be here for that game as well.
Should be.
In the
Can
meantime,
make that happen.
so you can find me at CLNS Radio, at Celtics Blog. I also host the WEI Celtics podcast with Sam Packard, who's always on the show. So we're going to have some great
He's
stuff.
probably in bed right now.
Probably. Hopefully. It was his birthday today, so let's hope so.
It was?
It was,
Whoops,
yeah.
Happy birthday, Sam.
Happy birthday, Sam. Actually, coming out Thursday evening, we have an interview with Evan Turner. We finally got him on the podcast. And we'll have Kyle Draper, a guy you might be familiar with, also on that. So it's going to be good. We'll have a trade deadline special next week on that. And then also on Tuesday, we're going to have another guest. So plenty more action there. And then what do you got going on over the next 2
nothing. But when you
weeks?
said Evan Turner, it reminded me of my nickname for him. But I'm going to hold off. I'm going to give it when we come back in the next show, like next time.
All right. So we'll leave you with maybe the greatest gif ever of Evan Turner.
You can find me on Twitter, Jimmy_Tiscano.
Oh, yeah. You can find me at CLNS_Jared Weiss. So we're going to leave you with the greatest gif of all time, Evan Turner Hotline Bling gif, created by our currently departed producer, Kyle George.
Okay, fine. I'll give the nickname now since we're doing it. So in the video it says fourth quarter above Turner. What's Evan Turner's number?
11.
When does he come through for the Celtics?
In the fourth.
In the 11th hour. When you need him at the very end.
Okay.
Evan Turner, the 11th hour. Let's get that one going.
That's better. I thought it was going to be like a 4-1-1 joke or something like that.
No.
That's better. All right,
no,
good.
I'm a little bit better than that.
All
the
right.
11th hour. That's
the 11th
hour.
Sweet. He sounds like a mysterious vigilante superhero.
Yeah, he comes through
hour.
in the 11th hour. Evan Turner came through for the Celtics tonight.
All right. I like that. So let's sign off here. For Jimmy, for Jeremy behind the camera,
for the 11th hour.
Jared Weiss for the 11th hour. Bon voyage. We'll see you next time.
I know when that hotline blink.